Yeah. Welcome to my work once more. Like I've always tried every time to see how I can impart knowledge, especially in the field of medical laboratory science, where it concerns mainly health matters. I feel it necessary. I think it very, very necessary to let everybody that I come across to enjoy that benefit of good health. The more knowledge you acquire, the better you have in terms of health-wise. Our health is a very necessary issue. That's why it is generally accepted that health is wealth and knowledge is power. When you acquire more knowledge in this area of health, you are bound to live a very healthy life. Many people would really want health if they are given the opportunity to make a choice, even between wealth, being wealthy and not healthy. They would rather choose being healthy to be wealthy. But how can you stay healthy if you have no knowledge? My people perish for lack of knowledge. That's what the Holy Book says. And so for us to have better knowledge in many of the area of medical laboratory sciences, I am trying every time to impart knowledge in this field. Today's topic I have decided to be Staphylococcus diseases and laboratory diagnosis. When we talk of Staphylococcus diseases, we need to understand what we mean by Staphylococcus. Staphylococcus happens to be in the group of microorganisms that are found in our environment and occupy the spaces on our skin and even our nostril. Staphylococcus, if we take it in terms of a single strain of it, the bacterium that really is very opportunistic when you allow it to gain access to vital organs of the body, because it has in it many enzymes that it can use to do certain damages to the body that will now cause the response, the immune response of the body to attack. A binomial classification is very necessary in order to have a careful study of the various types of bacteria in our world. The one I want to talk about, which I had earlier mentioned, Staphylococcus species. The Staphylococcus species come in a different shape. They are round, they are cocci in shape and in clusters. You cannot see this shape because like I said, they are very microscopic. They are invisible to the naked eye. You need the microscope or special lenses to really enlarge it, magnify it, so that you can now see them. They are always clustered together. That's why they call them Staphylococcus. And because they are round, that's the cocci shape. That's the cluster. It's now named Staphylococci or Staphylococcus species. It has certain characteristics in terms of biochemical reactions. The enzyme it produces, the catalyst. So enzyme, and so they say it's catalyst positive, and also coagulase. Produces that enzyme that produces clumping of plasma The ones that are able to form plasma, they are called coagulase positive staph, and the ones that cannot form are called coagulase negative staph. That is one of the areas of differentiating the staphylococci. Remember, I said staphylococci are bacteria that are cocci shape and in clusters. They are clustered together. So that is one of the ways of identifying bacteria. There is also the gram staining, very useful in identifying bacteria. And the gram staphylococcus are generally gram positive. You can also use the genomics, the genomes, the G and C, guanine cytosine ratio, to also confirm that this is where they belong to. Having said that, what do I mean by staphylococcus diseases? Staphylococcus diseases are so many because staph itself is not much of a pathogen. It lives a normal life, not causing problem except where the opportunity prevails. You can imagine it on your surface of your skin, and like right now, it is there. Even everywhere of my body, there is staphylococcus. But it's causing no harm. It's living normally. But once there is an opportunity for it to grow in, then it starts producing all these invasive enzymes, things that will help it to spread. Because once it is able to enter, it wants to spread. And our immune system is such that it wants to localize it. So there is inflammation around that area. But the organism has certain enzymes, protein, especially the Staphylococcus aureus, which is highly pathogenic when it's able to access any of the internal system, internal organs. So you can find it causing problem anywhere in the body, so long as it's able to penetrate to that area. But it does not necessarily mean that because it has penetrated, then the person will come down with diseases. But the person also must have immunity problem. That is why when you look at the prevalence of Staphylococcus infection, you will see more of it in hospital setting. That's why it is associated. It's one of the 5 organisms that are regarded as hospital associated infection, Staphylococcus aureus especially. The other species of staph that stays on the skin is Staphylococcus epidermis and algus. Majority of them now are classified as coagulase negative Staphylococcus. But I shall make efforts to talk of the laboratory diagnosis so that the distinguishing factor will be very clear. But right now, what I am trying to say is Staphylococcus will not cause infection if you do not have any opening or your immune system is not compromised. So when the immune system is compromised, especially with hospital patients or in any hospital setting where you have people who are generally sick and the defense of the body is weakened, or even with HIV patients or tuberculosis patients, then Staphylococcus can now be pathogenic in any area that you find it. So it can also cause non-specific urethritis, the Staphylococcus aureus or any species that is able to colonize that area once the area is already weakened in terms of immunity. So when we say Staphylococcus is opportunistic, it means we are saying if given the opportunity to spread, to enter into weakened people who are generally sick or their immunity has been compromised in a way or suppressed, in a way, because we have people who are even taking drugs that normally suppress the immune response. So when you try to suppress the immune response, the usual response that will attack the foreign body will not be there. So the staph will have opportunity to spread. The list of problems they cause, the common ones are boils. You see boils, you see wounds, you see even bacterial endocarditis, even meningitis, non-specific urethritis. You can even at times find it once the pimples is broken. So these are areas. They can even cause otitis media, especially in children, and many other infections, because they are very opportunistic. But the most important of the species of Staphylococcus is Staphylococcus aureus. But this the interest that you can develop in understanding this infection could become clearer as I start presenting different slides when we go into the laboratory diagnosis. But one thing we must take away is that every organism, every living thing wants to survive. They want to feed. They are having various enzymes that are breaking down their food or making food for them. Bacteria generally can make their own food from organic and inorganic substances. So it is the enzymes that help them break down these things to what they really need, that they will use in procreation. They have to multiply around the area without growth and then reproducing themselves. You cannot have them occupying all those spaces. The best way that we as medical laboratory scientists can prove that to you is to bring cultural media, because bacteria generally will grow in artificial medium, and they will now form colonies that are very visible. So those colonies are the things I shall expose you to in the slide, so that you can have deeper understanding of what this Staphylococcus that people are talking about. If you like what I mean, please click the like button. Subscribe. Health is wealth. Knowledge is power. The more effort I try to impart this knowledge on health matters, the better our health life, the way we live, the better health experience we have. You will be able to really control those things that you can control and manage yourself very well health-wise. So I urge you to come into the next slide as I present a clearer understanding of what Staphylococcus diseases are. The list of Staphylococcus diseases are endless. I shall present to you. Thank you for listening. 1, 2, 3, 4. Welcome back. As I proceed to explain what I shall be doing today, Staphylococcus disease and lab diagnosis. The plate you are seeing to the right is the appearance of staph culturally on the agar plate. The plate is the McConkey agar plate, and the definition of staph is very simple. Staph is a gram-positive bacterium that are found in the upper respiratory tract and on the skin as normal flora. It is a member of the Bacillota, the cocci bacteria. It is normally a commensal of the human body, but it's an opportunistic pathogen. It is ubiquitous and catalase positive cocci. Almost everywhere you see staph, especially when you are looking, swabbing any human being that you see. I have explained that the definition continues. Culturally on agar plates, that's on the left hand side, you will see these colonies are appearing singly discrete. They are golden yellow in color. That is very typical of staph. and you can suspect staph aureus. The same thing on the right, that's the gram stain showing the clustering, that Staphylococcus is always in clusters. You can see they're around, but they are in clusters. The list of diseases that you associate staph with, which I have earlier explained, but majority of these staph are usually coagulase positive. We call them staph aureus. On the skin, the commonest is boil, impetigo, carbuncle, abscesses. I've mentioned that cellulitis, pyomyositis, and trauma wounds infection. Invasive instrument, when you put it like the catheter, you find staph. Even in urinary catheter too, you see the staph growing on the urine culture. Intravascularly, bacteremia caused by staph and many other diseases like that. So let us now look at the whole human body. When you look from the head to the toe, staph can be isolated, and when you want to isolate it, it is just the exudate, the pus. It is a pyogenic organism producing so many neutrophils. So the high conjunctivitis, you just need to pick the pus area and you go it on culture, to stain it, it will all show you the typical isolate of staph. Even the lung exudate, the exudate from all these other internal organs, they will show you staph morphologically. The lab diagnosis, the microscope is very important, especially when you do gram staining. Like I said, the culture, you will see them go. This on the left is already an old culture. That's why the staph is applying so big. But when you look at the one on top, you'll see them, they are smaller in shape, and that's very typical, raised, not flat like the one that is showing old plate of staph aureus. The minimum, when we want to do sensitivity, the drug that will kill it, because staph is also an organism that shows resistance. So you need to know the minimum inhibitory concentration of the drug before you then recommend it. The PCR also are used to trace resistant staph, so that when treating, you don't use the PCR, you don't use the resistant drug to it. So if you like what you see, just click on the like button and I'll expect more.